My motion graphics. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another My Motion Graphics tutorial. My name is Gustavo Maia, and today I'm gonna show you how to play with motion drop and make it look like light streaks that actually have dynamics and bounce around with balls flowing around and bouncing around. So it's always fun to play with some balls that, bounce around, in my opinion. I don't know about you. But anyway, we're gonna learn a lot of stuff from basic knowledge about global illumination, for example, simulation, dynamics, and all that stuff, motion drop, obviously. And we're also gonna learn some small tips and tricks that I'm going to share with you. I won't share you, but I will share with you along the way. So even if you know most of the stuff that you're about to see, it's always very useful, in my opinion, to just watch it, and I bet that you can learn something, as I do every single day. First of all, don't forget to download Motion Drop. It will be available, and it is available at mymotiongraphics.tv. It's a free download, and you can download it right away. And that's all that you're going to need right now. Obviously, Cinema 4D, it's very useful for this tutorial, and also the MoGraph module. Okay, so let's stop with the chip chat and let's get started. Okay, so here we are in Cinema 4D. I'm using R15, by the way. And let's bring our, well, first of all, let's edit our render settings, which they are here. And I'm going for HD, so 1280 by 720. Lock the ratio and frame rate 2997. Okay, anti-aliasing also, it's a good idea to change from geometry to best, and the filter from cubic still image to animation. Okay, we're also going to increase the length of our timeline to 300. That's about 10 seconds, and we're ready to go. So let's go into our content browser, and I've added this motion drop into my favorites. So there you go, drag and drop the motion drop into the scene, and now let's press play. So good news, motion drop is alive. And with the motion drop selected, let's go into generator and increase the number of drops, like so. And then we're going into mesh and increase a bit the resolution, and into display, change the display type to graded shading with lines. This is only useful to see the geometry that we're working with. Okay, pretty good, but everything's moving way too fast. So let's go back into the generator and decrease a touch the speed of each drop, and maybe increase the distance 1 to 200. That's maybe too much, so 150. And decrease the rest of the distances to 50, 50, 50, like so. Okay. Now let's create a sphere. Let's change the sphere from standard to icosahedron and reduce the segments from 24 to 12. Okay. We're also going to decrease the radius to about half, and now we're going into MoGraph, bring up cloner, and bring the sphere into the cloner. Great. Now with the cloner selected, change the mode in object, change the mode to grid array, and increase the count to 4 by 4 by 4, and the size a bit so they don't overlap. Like so. Maybe a bit more over here. Pressing play just to see how far motion drop will go. Okay. Now we're going to make we're going to add some randomness to the size of the sphere. So to do that, with the cloner selected, I'm going to MoGraph effector, random effector. And with the random effector selected, go to parameter, uncheck position, and check scale. Check uniform scale, and tweak the scale a bit, like so. Alright, pressing play. And I think I'll probably decrease the size, decrease the radius a bit to maybe around 40. And now let's add some dynamics. With the sphere selected, go into tags, simulation tags, rigid body. Now if we press play, everything will fall. There's no objects to collide with. So before we make it collide with motion drop, let's add an attractor. Going to simulate, particles, attractor. Let's press play again, and they still fall. That's because our strength is very low. So let's increase this to maybe 10,000 and press play. Now they kind of bounce around, jumping and stuff. Let's decrease the speed limit from 200,000 to maybe 200 and press play again. A little bit better. And we can see that the spheres, let's go into our front view, the spheres are kind of falling down a bit. We can actually remove the gravity. So to do that, let's hit the shortcut Command D or Control D if you're using PC, and going to Dynamics. Under General, you'll have gravity and set it to 0. Now from the top, once again, let's press play, and now they don't fall anymore. Let's go into our perspective view, and once I add dynamics to motion drop, I will have some weird effects, and I will probably need to change or tweak a little bit the attractor. Let's see what happens. So from the top, let's go into motion drop and going to mesh, enable dynamics. Press play, and there you go. So as you can see, there are some spheres bouncing around, and that's not bad. That's not bad at all. But we can, however, increase the attractor strength to maybe 100,000 from the top. And now everything looks a little bit more tighter. Okay, small stuff we need to adjust. Increase maybe the length or the tail of motion drop. So from 10 to maybe 20. Go back, and it starts to get slow. That's because we have a lot of geometry and a lot of processing going on. But let's try to increase the tail to maybe 30. Let's see what happens. This sphere is kind of nuts from the top. And we can also, under motion drop generator, we can change the seed a bit. So let's pause this and tweak the seed a bit, like so. And under mesh, let's reduce a bit the resolution so everything runs a little bit faster. And there you go. Okay, I think I will probably increase the speed of my first drop a bit more, like so, from the top, and there you go. And maybe increase the distance a bit, just maybe 175 from the top, and let's go. Okay, this is not bad. Now we can, however, make some adjustments. For example, change the seed. If you don't like the way it looks, you can always change the seed and have different patterns going on. This looks pretty good. I will also add some more spheres, and this, it depends on the power of your machine. So if you don't have strong enough computer, just don't do it. Press play. And voila. Maybe try one more line, and okay, this is looking good. This is looking good. Now, to create a camera, always important to create a camera. So let's go into cameras, target camera, zoom out a bit, make sure we have our camera selected, and let's go over here, down here, and change the position on the X to 0 and the position on the Y to 0 as well. Alright, now middle mouse button, so we have the 4 views, and let's make our top left view our camera, so what the camera is actually seeing. And this looks fine enough. Okay, alright. Now, one thing I like to change is that I don't really want to start with this cubic look. I want to start with something like this. In order to do that, let's just select one frame, like this one, go into the Dynamics tag on the sphere, and under Dynamics, check Set Initial State. Just click on that, and once we go back into our first frame, the position of the sphere's position will remain the same, and the simulation will start from here. So now it looks a little bit better. Okay. Once you like the simulation, once you think that it's good enough, you can do something that I'll show you in a minute, but I just figured that I need to animate something, and that is this radius. So I want the motion drop to appear from nothing and to disappear into nothing, and that's why I'm going to animate this radius and maybe this tail as well. So to animate the radius, make sure that, I don't know, maybe 20 frames. At 20 frames we can set a keyframe on the radius. So with the command or control, click on this little icon over here, and on our first frame let's bring this down to 0, so this icon becomes yellow, which means he's asking for a keyframe, and now we add a keyframe. And now let's see what happens. Let's hide the cloner for a bit and bring it from the top. Play. Okay, so it starts from small. They start from a small radius and they increase. Subtle, but it works. Okay, now let's do the same, but in the end. So in the frame 280, we're going to click again the radius. So command click. Now we set a keyframe over here, and in the final frame we're going to bring this down to 0 and click again on the keyframe. So now we have motion drop growing from 0, and eventually it will end up disappearing, like so. And we can also in the end animate the tail. So let's go into our again 280 and command click tail, and in our final frame we're going to bring this down to 0, and let's see what this does. Let's bring it over here. As you can see, there is a small animation going on over here, and it looks good. So with that being done, let me just take another look at it. Wow, great. Now we can bring the cloner back once again, bring it to the top, and press play and see what happens. Take another look at what we've got, and everything is looking pretty good so far. Great. Okay. Now let's record this simulation. So go into select the cloner, go into tags, MoGraph tags, MoGraph cache. Hit it and click use cache, bake sequence from 0 to 300. Okay, now we're going to click bake. And we're going to wait a while, not that much. And in 3, 2, 1, we have our simulation. Now that we have our simulation, we can go into Motion Drop and disable dynamics because there's nothing being actually simulated. And let's hide Motion Drop for a minute. And the thing with baking simulations is that now I can scrub the timeline and everything will run a lot smoother. Okay? And we don't need to calculate the collision with the motion drop. Therefore, this will run way better and we can see it in real time. Great. Now let's add some materials. Let's go under no layer. So these are materials that have no layer applied or associated with. Let's double click and call these material spheres. With the materials selected, go into your attributes window, go into basic, uncheck specular, and in the color let's bring some white over here, almost white. That will be good enough. Bring the material into the sphere and voila. Now let's make a quick render, but before that, to make our renders a little bit faster, I'm going to divide the width by 2, and because I have this lock ratio checked, the height will also be divided, making the canvas proportional to what it was before. And make sure you have frame range current frame because I want to render it to our picture viewer, which is right here. There you go. And let's pick another frame. Let's pick another frame where we have some visibility, like this. Make a render pretty fast, but now let's make the actual cool stuff, which is let's add some global illumination. Okay, and let's make another render. I will tweak the values later on, but first of all let's see what we've got. Increase this a bit to 100 so that you can see a little bit better what's going on. And we have some volume, we have some light. That's cool. So what we can change, however, first of all we can uncheck this sky sampling, we don't need that. And let's try to add some ambient occlusion. Hit render again. It will take a little bit longer, but not that much. And let's make everything looks the same because we actually didn't add ambient occlusion, we added to multipass, so sorry, my bad. Go into effect, ambient occlusion, this is the way you do it. Another render, actually I can delete this one, yes I want to delete it. And as you can see it's taking a bit longer, but you see the difference. So here is without ambient occlusion, and with ambient occlusion I have this volume applied to motion drop, and that looks pretty good. Okay, so what next? Let's maybe increase the length, the maximum ray length of the ambient occlusion, so it gets a little bit longer. So go into ambient occlusion and increase the maximum ray length to maybe 200, not 20 but 200. Hit render once more, and we'll get there. There you go. Okay, and let's increase a little bit the quality. So maximum samples, let's bring this to 128. This will be enough. And let me show you a quick tip. To actually see what happens with the ambient occlusion, what's happening, you can add a multipass ambient, sorry, let me undo that, not ambient but ambient occlusion, which is over here, and let's just uncheck this save. And now that we have multipass applied, let's check that. We've enabled multipass and we have an extra layer, ambient occlusion one. Once we render this, we can go to layer, and let's wait until it's finished. We can go into layer and click multipass, and now we can see the actual ambient occlusion going on, and this looks pretty good. Okay, so I think I like what I have. Probably, let me just take another look. This is good enough, so therefore I'm going to delete this. So with ambient occlusion selected, delete it and delete multipass. Great, let's bring it back again and let's try to increase our global illumination, give it some more bounces, so give it some more light. Let's add some secondary method and render it again. Go back into history, and I like to make renders into the picture viewer a lot, because here you can actually see what changes you have made and the decisions you've made. Sometimes you think you're doing the right thing, but then you go back a bit and see, oh no, this was much better, and therefore you can go back. And it's also good to make to compare one render to another. For example, this was with just the primary method of global illumination, and this is with the second one. You clearly see there's some more light information going on, and that looks a little bit better. Another thing that we should change in global illumination is to go into cache files and check the full animation mode, because our light situation will, in this case, change a lot from frame to frame, and therefore it's a good idea to have this full animation mode. Okay, now that we have this, we can prepare our final render. So check it once again, maybe take another look into another frame just for fun, and we can prepare it to render, so we can actually edit this in After Effects and give it a little bit more of something. It's a good idea as well right now to maybe increase our geometry, so our resolution. Select Motion Drop and increase resolution until maybe 95 will be more than enough. And before we actually render this out, I will prepare one multipass, another layer that might be helpful. So let's go into multipass and select the material luminance, so that we have this information from the color of motion drop, and that will probably be useful or not, I'm not sure, but let's in any case prepare that. And now all you need to do is save. So I like to save it as PNG and increase the depth to 16-bit. Make sure you select alpha channel, and this is really important. Make sure you check alpha channel, okay? And you'll also want to save your multipass images. In this case, it's just the sequence from the material luminance, and therefore you should select PNG as well. That's up to you, but again, you know, it's a matter of choice. I like PNG because it's light, so it doesn't cost that much in terms of memory usage or disk space, and because it works well. So that's it. Now you just need to click over here and select your output path over here and there. And I think there's something missing. What's missing? Yeah, the output. Let's set the output to all frames and go back and increase this width once more. And yeah, that's it. So let's close this up. Close this. Actually, just set up your file path, make your render, and then we're going to jump into After Effects. Okay, so here we are in After Effects for our second part of this tutorial. That will be to make our render from Cinema 4D look even better. Now, with After Effects opened, I'm going to double click on this project window and will import my files. Now, I previously said that I would render this matte material luminance pass, and there you go, here it is, and the original one. But so first of all, let's open this one and right click on it, and you should do it this every time you import a footage, so a sequence layer, a sequence of images. You should do this because After Effects doesn't know what is the frame rate that you want, so therefore I'm going to put here 29.97, don't type comma, it's dot. And in the alpha section over here, we're going to choose pre-multiplied, and this is important. If you didn't check this alpha, if you didn't have this if you don't have this option, it's because you probably forget to check the alpha channel in Cinema 4D. Okay, so that's okay. Actually, in this case, in this project that we're going to do right now, I don't really think that it really matters, but anyway, nevertheless, double click on it and we're going to pick this light streaks that I still am not sure if we're going to use them, but we'll see. And right click, once again assume this frame rate 29.97, and as you can see we don't have this alpha options enabled, and that's because this multipass, so these passes that we bring from Cinema 4D, they don't have alpha. Okay, so let's make this a little bit bigger, give it some room, so that we can rename them. This is the original one. Original, yeah. And this is the luminance. Okay. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this once again, but it's there just in case. So let's drag the original into a new composition, and let's click where it says 8 BPC, that means 8 bits per channel, and we're gonna make it 16 bits per channel so that the color looks a little bit better. Okay, now to get more room into our composition over here, and let's take a look first of all at what we've got. Okay, so it's looking good already. We have some nice light streaks flowing around and pushing balls everywhere, and that looks nice. Let's try to make it even nicer. So let's pick a frame where there's a lot of motion drop on screen, like this for example. And with the layer selected, let's click Command D and duplicate it, and I'm gonna rename this one to Glow. So Glow, and let's pick the one and only famous Luma key that I use all the time. Let's bring this up and let's solo this layer. I just want to see this layer, don't want to see the one in the bottom. And I'm going to activate over here the alpha. This won't change your final work, it just shows you what's transparent. It shows you with this kind of pattern over there, the alpha pattern, the transparency pattern, whatever you want to call it. And this way it's easier for me to pick the threshold and increase it until I get only the drops, like so. It doesn't have to be that accurate, you know, but you should be able to get something like this. Maybe increase a bit not the feather, yes, the feather. Increase a bit the feather, just a touch. And now we can toggle back on or off the transparency grid and see what we did. It doesn't make that much of a difference. But if we add a glow, so let's type on our effects glow, double click on it, we can already see what's happening over here. And this is the glow. Let's tweak stuff on the glow. So if I bring the threshold down to 0%, everything will glow in a uniform color. That's not what we want. Let's bring this up again and bring it down, like maybe so. Play with the intensity, bring it way down and just a touch up. This is subtle. So although you have 2 digits figure over here, 0.3, it actually has some more information if you click on it. So 0.26. That's useful because if you scrub between the 2 and the 3, you have lots of different values that you can find. Although you don't see it, but it's there. So play again with the threshold and the radius, just a bit, like so. Let's solo our channel and see what we've got. And unsolo it, hide the layer and unhide it again. Okay, for now it's looking pretty weird, but that's the secret, you know, you need to play with the settings, including this threshold. You can increase or decrease this threshold and play with the feather. Let's hide the glow for a minute and solo again our layer. I think I want this to be a bit like, maybe like so. You can see a bit of the spheres, that's no problem, there's no problem with it. Let's hit glow and maybe increase the intensity a bit. Pretty good. This is okay. So it's kind of hard to, you know, really nail it. It really depends on you, on what you feel it's right, but for this effect I think I'm going to leave it that way. Let's unsolo and see what's the difference. So we already see that this glow kind of brings up this motion drop a bit. But we're not staying here, we're not leaving this as it is. Let's try to play a little bit with the radius, increase it or decrease it, increase it just a bit, just like that. And here where the fun part comes. Let's duplicate this glow again and instead of increasing the radius, let's add how do you call it? Let's add fast blur. Okay, make sure you repeat edge pixels and increase a bit, like so. And we're going to change the mode to something like lighten, for example, or screen. It really depends on what looks best, but screen is too much. Let's go for lighten. Hit T for the opacity and bring it way down. Now you can play with it. I like to bring it all the way down and then just bring it up a bit until it feels right, like so. And 35% maybe. 32 looks okay. Let's go back into our glow. Let's hide the top layer and try to see if the normal mode suits best or the lighten mode for the first glow we did. So lighten or normal. Let's stick with the normal. And now the second glow, okay, this is small details, it's really small tweaks, but in the end it will make the difference. Let's duplicate this glow once more and rename this to atmosphere. And this atmosphere over here, we can actually just change the color of its label, just so it's a little bit different, and we can easily distinguish one from the others. This original can also be a little bit different, like blue for example. So we have two greens that are the glow, a blue that is the original one, and the atmosphere that we're still creating, it's the pink one. Now let's increase this blurriness, and in between this let's hit T and increase the opacity all the way up so we can see what we're doing. Now let's increase this a bunch, like so, trying to give that sense of atmosphere, kind of foggy environment. And now let's bring the opacity all the way down and push it a bit up until you get something you like so maybe. Now it's a good idea to try and pick some other frames and try to see how they look. And also a good idea to hide all the layers and just build it up once again from the top and see if it's working. I think that probably this glow is too much right now. It kind of burns everything around this greenish color. So let's try to bring the opacity a bit down and then a bit up, like so. Maybe 50% is good. Then the second one looking okay, maybe play with the opacity, so T, play with the opacity a bit, and the atmosphere, play with the opacity once again until we find something that's okay. Now let's maybe increase the opacity on the atmosphere, bring the radius a bit down, and bring down the opacity. I'm doing this because I want to duplicate this one and make two layers of opacity, of atmosphere, like a big one and a small one. And so the big one will have a large blurriness, like so, and the small one will have, and the bottom one will have a smaller blurriness, like so. We can tweak around, try to see some other layers like so. And you know, it's all about small tweaking. And now let's select all of the layers and hide them and see what we had before, and then maybe all at the same time. So, and then what we've got. Okay, pretty good. maybe one more thing. I still think we lack, let me check, we lack some atmosphere, but take a look, it's a huge difference, right? Huge difference. So we may need some more atmosphere, so let's duplicate this last one, which is this one. You can barely see it, so hit T, increase it a little bit. I'm going to duplicate this one. I'm going to bring the opacity all the way up, and instead of increasing the blurriness once more, I'm actually going to scale this layer a bit, like so. And then obviously once again I'll bring the opacity down like so, and then bring it up once again. Now once again select all the layers, hide them. This was our original render, and this is what we've got. So I guess that's it. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to click the like button, share it, subscribe if you haven't already, keep those comments flowing and all that good stuff. My name is Gustavo Maia for mymotiongraphics.tv. I'll see you in another video. Until then, bye bye.